All right, guys, this is the ARB onboard air system that I'm going to install in the 2024 Land Cruiser. So shout out to CATuned Off-Road for designing this perfect mount for the engine bay. All right, so in here we have obviously the ARB dual cylinder air compressor. We got the hardware, mounting hardware. This looks like the air filter. Oh no, the chuck or the air chuck. We'll figure that out. Thanks again to CATuned Off-Road. Thanks for the stickers. So we'll set that there for now. Let's see, we've probably got more hardware in here. So this looks like, all right, so that is, looks like more hardware, the wiring harness, more wires here, looks like the hose here, and then looks like the switch. All right, so I think I got everything. These cover the air filters, or these are the air filters. So let's set some of this stuff aside. All right. And so here are the plates that CATuned designed. These are going to fit nicely right where the ECU is inside the engine bay. All right, so the onboard air system is going to mount right in here, and the wire is going to run across this harness all the way to the fuse box over there. So the install obviously looked pretty easy, but I know there's going to be some tight spots in here, but there's definitely a lot of room here. So shout out again to CATuned for designing almost an OEM fit here. So the guys over at CATuned said it should take about 2 hours. It's probably going to take me 3. I'm not the most mechanically sound person. So let's get started and we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. All right, so we got this part. It's the ECT 12 volt. So that comes out, and this thing should pop out now, right? All right. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff taped in there, so I'm wondering if we need to undo that tape. All right, so there's some electric tape holding some of these harnesses. All right, so I got the bracket out. So all that room in there, that's where the onboard compressor is going to sit. So let me make sure the mount and everything's good, and then we'll get that bad boy installed. All right, so now here is the air compressor. So this stuff needs to sit out of here, and then this is supposed to, this is actually going to mount to the side here. So let me put this in here. I wonder if I mount this on here first, it'll be easier.
Wires. So the small computer.
All right, so I think I put the small computer on wrong.
Just like that. It's easier nuts to bolt it together.
All right, so screwed that up. So I got the small computer sitting right here, but I'm supposed to use these holes. Watch that hose. Okay, so let's see. Let me get these. All right, so I got small computer mounted to the mount. Now, if you could see there, the mounting point. So there's that one goes there, and this one goes there, and then there's one there, and the other one in there. All right, let's get this thing mounted in. All right, so I got 4 studs. These go in the bottom of the ECU. All right, so now we mount this top plate on there. We use the factory bolts. All right, so ran into a little bit of a snag. So one thing from their video, you want to make sure that small computer harness is on the outside of the bigger ECU harness, because if it's not, it just needs that much room to make sure we get line up with all the mounting points. So make sure that small ECU wire harness is on the outside of the bigger harness. All right, so now it's time to wire up the switch. So just by looking at it, that looks confusing. So let me grab the switch. There you go. Okay, so I need to make sure isolating switch, switch 1, switch 2, and whatever these 2 red and blue wires are. I'm gonna look at the manual real quick and see if I can figure this out. All right, so we are back at it again. So the wire was a little confusing for me, but I reached out to the CATuned guys. Thanks again to Max for being responsive. So one thing they left out in their video was this red wire here. This is to be wired up and ran along the wire harness with the compressor wire harness and into the positive. And then also that main wire harness, which is here. This just needs to be all hooked up to the to a ground. So let's get that wired up and let's see how it goes. All right, so I got my wire stripper, some extra wire. So all right, so I got my extra wire and this switch wire that's supposed to run to the positive at the fuse box. I got that connected. I just used a butt connector, and so I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my switch. That should plug into the smaller connector. All right, so now I'm confused again. So I thought this piece was gonna plug into this female plug here from the compressor, but that is not the case. All right, so now I need to figure out how am I supposed to wire this switch up. So let me figure it out and get back to you. All right, so I watched the Tacoma video to see if there was more instructions about wiring. So there was this other wire harness in there that I thought I was supposed to ignore. but that's not the case. So this is actually the plug that goes into the compressor for the switch. Now, just looking at the diagram, I need to figure out where this goes and where these go. So they don't explain much about wiring, which kind of sucks because I'm not an electrician. I'm not experienced with wiring up electronics, and I'm not that experienced mechanically either. So this is something I definitely need more detailed instructions on. So let's see what's going on here. So it seems like this needs to go into this plug so I can plug it here. So let me figure out where each of these go. All right, so let me connect these wires, make sure they're lined up. So purple attaches to the red, obviously yellow and yellow. Come on, yellow. Get yellow in there. Okay, so I have that plug hooked up now. And there we go. That should work. So once I get this all wired up, I'm probably just I'm gonna take the mount off again and clean this up. So now I need to hook up the main wire harness. Let me just check one more time. All right, so I'm going to connect the main wire harness. Actually, no, let me hook these up to some terminal rings first. Let me get set up for that. All right, so those are ready to hook up to the fuse box and to the ground. And so what I saw in the video is this little switch wire here. They ran it along the main wire harness. So let me get this plugged in. All right, so that's all wired up. So basically, I'm going to take this extra wire, kind of intertwine it with the wire harness. All right, so I got the main manifold here. I should have got some electric tape, so I'm gonna clean this up once I get, hopefully it works. If I get it to work, I'll clean this up with some electrical tape. So this wire that I added, that's part of the switch wire harness. You're supposed to run an extra line over to the positive in the fuse box. And then these, of course, this is the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug the battery because that makes me nervous touching that stuff over there. I know in the video, Max did it without connecting the battery, but I just gotta be careful. All right, so I got the fuse box open. So there's the positive right there. And then they use this bolt right here for the ground, which I'm gonna hook that one up to. And then these two terminal rings are gonna go into that positive spot right there. All right, so I think I got it wired up. So I got the main wire harness going through there. And I got the positives hooked up there and then the ground right there. So I think that's it. So let's see if it works. All right, guys, I'm all wired up. This is the moment of truth. I got my Thor's Lightning air hub hooked up to the air chuck there, and let's see if it works. Yes. Success. All right, so I got the air compressor hooked up. So now I just need to clean up all these wires here. So I know a lot of you are having trouble with wiring the compressor. So here is the wire harness for the switch. So off that switch is this blue wire, which is not used. And then there's this red wire. So all you had to do was extend this red wire and run it along the main wire harness for the compressor and run it to the positive at the fuse box. So that's the part that was missing in the instructions from CATuned. But after talking to them, yeah, they just said to run this red wire all the way to the positive in the fuse box. And then this connects to the other wire harness, I would say the medium wire harness, and that connects to here. It connects a switch to this harness, and this harness plugs into the compressor right here. And so from the diagram in the manual, you could easily line these up by color. You just throw those into the connector and then plug that in. So the only color difference is the red and purple. And so red and purple go together in the same slot there. So yeah, perfect spot for the compressor. Now I just need to clean all this up with some electrical tape and we're good to go. I got everything covered up with an electrical tape to clean that up. So there's not that much clutter back here. So I got the main wire harness kind of bundled up there, and then the switch along with the smaller switch harness all tied up. So this will all tuck back into here, and then this will tuck back into here. And this tape is supposedly heat resistant, so hopefully won't have too much trouble in there when it gets hot. So I'm just gonna clean up the rest of this. I got some zip ties on the wire harness, but I'll add some electrical tape there too. So there it is, guys. There's the onboard air compressor by ARB and the mount made by CATuned off-road. Thanks again to CATuned and Max for reaching out and helping me get this thing wired up. So if you look back here, it's a little bit cleaner with all the wires electrical taped. And of course, I got some electrical tape going across that main wire harness all the way to the fuse box over there. So stay tuned for a field test. Won't be hitting the trail for a couple more weeks, but stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one.